If you love fighting games and you own a Nintendo Switch, you do not need to spend a fortune to build an incredible library across both Switch 1 and Switch 2. Kicking things off at number 1, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the single most essential fighting game on any Nintendo platform, and it remains the most feature-rich brawler you can buy on Switch today. The roster of over 80 playable characters, the World of Light single-player mode, the sheer depth hiding underneath the accessible surface, and the fact that you can regularly find it on sale well below its launch price all make this the obvious starting point for any budget-conscious fighting game fan on either Switch. Number 2 is Street Fighter VI, which arrived on Switch 2 as the first native fighting game fully optimized for the console and immediately became the gold standard for the platform. The drive system adds a new layer of strategy to every matchup. The World Tour single-player mode gives you hours of solo content. Rollback netcode makes online play genuinely competitive, and its tournament legal status at Capcom Pro Tour events confirms that this is a serious release and not just a handheld for. Coming in at number 3, Dragon Ball FighterZ is one of the most visually stunning fighting games ever made, and on Switch 2, it finally runs the way it always should have. The 3v3 team battle system, the cel-shaded animation that looks indistinguishable from the anime, the large roster of Dragon Ball characters spanning multiple series, and the deep combo system that rewards both casual button mashers and serious competitors, all combine into a game that justifies its price alone at any sale discount. At number 4, Mortal Kombat 11 remains one of the best-selling fighting games in the franchise's history, and on Switch, it is available at prices that regularly drop below $20. The polished combat system, the cinematic story mode with a legitimately entertaining narrative, the deep customization options for each fighter, and the volume of content packed into the base game all make it an extraordinary value pick for Switch owners who want a gory and mechanically satisfying brawler. Number 5 is Guilty Gear Strive, the most visually impressive 2D fighter currently available on Nintendo Switch, and one that has received consistent post-launch updates, including all Season 4 characters, the anime-inspired art direction, the accessible but deeply technical Roman cancel system, the excellent tutorial modes that make it one of the best fighting games for learning fundamentals, and the now updated ranked match infrastructure all make it a justified buy at a discount price. Sitting at number 6, Tekken 7 is the legendary 3D fighting franchise's most complete entry, and one that regularly drops to bargain prices on Switch. The roster of familiar faces alongside newcomers, the rage system that creates exciting comeback mechanics, the surprisingly engaging story mode that follows Heihachi's conflict with his family, and the solid online infrastructure all make this an easy recommendation for players who prefer three-dimensional fighting over the 2D plane. Number 7 is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which deserves more credit than it gets and can be found at genuinely low prices on Switch today. The 2v2 team battle system built around the Infinity Stone mechanic, the accessible tag combo structure, the varied Marvel and Capcom roster, and the solid story mode all make it a worthwhile pick, especially at the deep discount prices it regularly hits. It is a mechanically generous game that rewards creative team building. At number 8, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy is the ideal budget purchase for anime fighting fans on Switch because it packs 3 full games into one collection at a price that constantly sits in the affordable range. You get the full arc from the original series through Shippuden, the intuitive arena combat that makes you feel like you are playing through the anime, and a cast of beloved characters that make it a great entry point for players new to the fighting genre overall. Number 9 is BlazBlue Central Fiction Special Edition, a technically demanding and deeply rewarding 2D anime fighter that represents one of the best values in the entire genre on Switch. The massive roster, the lightning-fast and highly technical combo system that rewards serious lab time, the visual novel-style story mode that adds real narrative context to the fights, and the competitive depth that keeps dedicated players engaged for hundreds of hours all justify picking this up at any discount. Coming in at number 10, Capcom Fighting Collection bundles 10 classic Capcom arcade titles into a single package that represents incredible value for money on Switch. You get Darkstalkers entries, Super Puzzle Fighter, and other beloved arcade classics, alongside museum content, including original art and soundtracks. it is one of the best ways to explore the history of 2D fighting games in a polished and respectful package without spending full price on individual legacy titles. Number 11 is Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, which might be the single best bang for your buck purchase on this entire list. You get 7 classic Marvel vs. Capcom games in one package, including Marvel vs. Capcom 2, each with rollback netcode for online play, a full museum of archival content, and the kind of chaotic 2D tag team fighting that defined an entire era of the genre. Finding this on sale makes it an almost unmissable deal. At number 12, Mortal Kombat 1 is the most recent mainline MK entry, and on Switch 2, it runs significantly better than it did on the original hardware, where it had a poor reception. The Kameo system that adds a second assist fighter to your roster, the refined Fatal Blow mechanics, the surprisingly thoughtful story mode, and the post-launch character additions, including guest fighters, all make this a much stronger package than its original Switch reputation suggested. Number 13 is Samurai Shodown, the weapon-based 2G fighting game that rewards patience, reads, and precision over fast combo execution in a way that feels genuinely unique in the genre. The roster of samurai, ninja, and fighter characters set against gorgeous feudal Japan backdrops, the one-hit kill rage mechanic that keeps every match tense, and the deep single-player content, including story mode and dojo challenges, all make it a strong pick for players who want something different from their fighting game library. Coming in at number 14, the King of Fighters X15 is SNK's most polished entry in the long-running franchise, and one that plays surprisingly well on Switch at discounted prices. The 3v3 team battle system, the expanded roster of fan-favorite characters spanning decades of KOF history, the fast-paced neutral game that rewards footsies and spacing over flashy combos, and the rollback netcode that makes online play viable, all combine into a game that deserves more attention from Switch fighting game fans. Number 15 is Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, which packs 12 classic Street Fighter games into one affordable Switch package, and serves as both a playable history lesson and a genuine bargain. You get everything from the original Street Fighter through Third Strike, multiple versions of Street Fighter 2 and Alpha, and online play for 4 key entries in the lineup. At the prices this collection regularly hits on sale, it is essentially unmissable for any fighting game fan. At number 16, Pokkén Tournament DX is one of the most unique fighting games on Switch, and one you can consistently find at a very low price. The hybrid battle system that shifts between a 2D field phase and a 3D arena phase mid-match gives it a rhythm unlike anything else in the genre. The Pokémon roster is full of character diversity, with no 2 fighters feeling the same. And the skill ceiling is genuinely high for players who want to master one character at a deep competitive level. Number 17 is Rivals of Aether, widely regarded as the best platform fighter not made by Nintendo, and a game that proves you do not need a massive budget or license to build something exceptional. The elemental characters each bring entirely different movement tools and design philosophies to the game. The workshop content on PC carried over fans for years, and the tight and rewarding competitive design makes it one of the most replayable games on Switch at its very affordable price point. Coming in at number 18, Skullgirls' second Encore is a criminally underrated 2D fighting game that deserves to be in far more Switch collections than it currently is. The hand-drawn animation that still looks stunning years after release, the fully voiced visual novel story modes for each character set in a stylish 1920s world, the surprisingly deep and technical combo system, and the consistent post-launch support all make it an excellent purchase at a price that regularly drops to budget territory on the eShop. At number 19, Them's Fighting Herds is an indie 2D fighting game designed with direct input from former competitive fighting game players, and it shows in how polished and fair the core mechanics feel. The anthropomorphic animal characters each play in completely distinct ways. The surprisingly solid online infrastructure built on rollback netcode gives it a genuinely healthy competitive scene, and the charming visual style and humor make it one of the most welcoming fighting games on Switch for newcomers to the genre. Number 20 is Brawlhalla, and the fact that it is completely free to play makes it an automatic recommendation on any budget fighting game list. The platform fighter structure, the rotating free character roster, the enormous variety of game modes, including ranked, casual, and limited time events, and the depth of movement and combo systems that reward serious players, all make this one of the most time-efficient downloads available on Switch, regardless of which version you own. At number 21, Fantasy Strike is the most accessible traditional fighting game on Switch, and it is also free to play, which makes it an obvious pickup. The simplified one-button special moves, the clear and readable visual language designed to make fights easier to understand and learn from, the solid online infrastructure, and the educational design philosophy that genuinely teaches you fighting game fundamentals all make it the ideal starting point for players who have never touched the genre before. Number 22 is One Punch Man: A Hero Nobody Knows, a fighting game built around the deeply funny premise of Saitama being broken by design because he defeats everyone in one hit. The roster of heroes and villains from the anime, the timer mechanic that determines when Saitama actually enters a match you are waiting for him to join, the chaotic multiplayer energy, and the very low prices it regularly hits on Switch eShop sales all make it a fun and distinct entry that fans of the source material will particularly enjoy. Coming in at number 23, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 is a significant improvement over the first entry and has grown into a genuinely respectable platform fighter with a strong indie following on Switch. The expanded roster, drawing from a wide range of Nickelodeon properties, the more polished movement mechanics, the proper voice acting added after the first game's silence, and the regular price drops that put it well within budget range, all make it a solid recommendation for fans of platform fighters looking for something outside the Smash Bros. Ecosystem. At number 24, DNF Duel is a fast and visually striking 2D fighter based on the Dungeon Fighter Online universe that can consistently be found at very affordable prices on Switch. The speed of the neutral game, the unique class-based roster where every character is built around a completely different archetype and playstyle, the simplified special move inputs that make it accessible to newcomers, and the surprisingly deep high-level play that emerges once you start reading the fast-paced action, all make it a worthwhile addition at a discount. Wrapping up the list at number 25, Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising is the complete and updated version of the original Granblue Fantasy Versus, and it brings a clean, accessible, and beautifully presented 2D fighting game to Switch at prices that have dropped significantly since launch. The free-to-play online mode that lets anyone try the game without spending anything, the gorgeous anime art direction, the rollback netcode for solid online play, and the diverse roster drawn from the beloved Granblue Fantasy universe all make it a strong final entry on this budget-friendly list.